It's Ellen Lewis from Crazy for You, and welcome to Lunchtime Live. So, I'm in the shop today. Isn't this fun? So, I thought it would be fun to kind of start doing some of the podcasts and the lunchtime lives from the shop. So, it just feels very familiar and fun. And I have these great windows in the front, which you can't see, which are wonderful for natural light. So, anyway, let me know what you think and how you feel about it. It makes me happy to be in the shop. We might get interrupted. There might be people coming in. I've taken off my mask. I'm a good safe distance away from the door or anybody else. So, yay. So, how's everybody today? I've had a wonderful weekend. And if you read the newsletter, you read about my friend Kathleen. I spent the weekend with her. It was her birthday coming up. So that's what we did. And that was really nice. Nice to kind of get away. I had a question from a student who is taking the My First Sweater class. And she has knit sweaters in the past. And that's a thing that I think is kind of interesting about the class that I wanted to share with you. Although it says My First Sweater class, I think there's a lot in there that you could learn, even if this is not your first sweater. I've had a number of people who've knit many, many sweaters say that they learned a huge amount from that class. So anyway, not meant to be a commercial, particularly for the sweater class, but I do think that you might want to consider it. Anyway, so we have some folks on. Hi, Terry. Nice to see you. Hey, Gwen, Lori, Eveline, good morning. Eveline, I wanted to let you know that the yarn that you ordered for that project has been out of stock. I finally heard back from the company, and that's why it's been delayed in shipping to you. So that should be going out this week, and I will keep you posted on when that does. So I thank you for your patience on that. So the question that was posed by one of the students in the class was, why do I always emphasize leaving a nice long tail in your yarn? And I emphasize that when you're casting on, not just with a long tail cast on, but with any kind of cast on, you always want to have a nice long tail left after you've cast on all your stitches. When you are changing yarns and adding a new ball, you always want to leave a nice long tail from the ball that you're finishing and the ball that you're starting. When you are binding off, after you've finished binding off, you want to leave a nice long tail. And by nice long tail, I mean, say 6 to 12 inches. And the reason that you want that tail is because, first of all, you never really want to make a knot in your knitting. Knots have a nasty way of doing two things. The first is they always come undone. They really do. They almost always come undone. And that's really unfortunate, because if you tie a knot and then you clip it close and it comes undone, then you have a hole in your fabric. So that's not good. And even if it doesn't come undone, you've heard me say many times, texture tends to the purl side. It's always going to end up kind of working its way where you don't want it. So if you have ribbing, or if you have garter stitch, or even in stockinette, that knot tends to be very visible in your fabric. So we don't want to do a knot. So if you're not going to tie a knot, what are you going to do with those tails? And the answer is that you are going to take a darning needle, which is a nice large-eyed, blunt-tipped needle, and you're going to weave those long ends in. So if you don't have a long enough end, then you don't have enough room to maneuver the yarn to do the weaving in, because you need to pull the yarn through the needle, through the eye of the needle, and then you need to have a little bit hanging down so that it doesn't come undone. So that means that you do need to have enough room with your yarn to be able to weave those ends into the seam or into the fabric to secure them. The other thing is that when you are changing yarns in a project, if you don't leave a long enough tail, where those two ends are coming together, it's not secure. So you know how the place where you've joined the two yarns always looks a little loose. Again, we want to go back to the fact that we're not tying a knot, because we don't want a knot in our knitting. If you're not tying a knot, they're loose and they tend to wiggle. And it's sort of like being able to wiggle out of, somebody holding on to you. So it's easier for it to pull out if it's this way than if it's long. So if you have a nice long tail, you don't run quite the same risk of having those stitches come unknit from one another at the end of your row or anywhere you've joined a yarn. So does that make sense? Do any of you use that method? Do you leave a nice long tail? Is that news to you? I'd love to hear in the comments. So let's see what's going on in the comments. All right. Yay, Lori. It's nice to see you during your lunch. Thank you. Yay. I'm glad you like the tips, B. Welcome. It's nice to see you. All right. So that is what is going on. I was a little late today getting started because I had to rush in a new place and had to set up and everything. But I do kind of like this. So I wanted to remind you also, if you are not local, I mean, even if you are local, I'd love to have you. But tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on the podcast, I'm going to be doing the trunk show. This will be a virtual trunk show. So I will have all of the Mode at Rowan garments that we have in the trunk show out. I will have them on mannequins. I'll probably put them on myself and walk around and show you what they look like so that you can see them on a real person. I think it is... like I said in the newsletter this morning, it's so hard to know how something is going to look on you until you try it on. And failing that, it's nice to see what it looks like on a person who's not a fashion model like me, somebody with a normal body that's, not a fashion model, right? Because they make everything look different. And I think when you have something that's been photographed, it's very carefully staged. So, I mean, and they're not lying or anything, but obviously it's arranged just so. And, a photograph of a garment is really just a moment in time. And you can't necessarily get the same sense of what it's going to look like when it's worn, when you're moving around, when it's not, just so perfectly, staged or what's the word that they use in the, fashion industry. I'm trying to think. It's styled, right? It's styled just so, and they have just the right accessories and all that stuff. And, so to get a sense of what it looks like, I'll be walking around with it and I'll say, what this size is and, how much ease it has and how it feels, whether it's itchy on me or, all those kinds of things that if you were here to see them yourself, you will be able to know. So I think that will be kind of fun. Yes, love long tails. Let's see. So, yes, good point, Lori. Nothing more frustrating than that. Well, possibly there are, tying a knot in something and then cutting it off and having it come undone and having to reweave that. We've been there, haven't we? Yay! B, I think you're really going to love it. So if you are not able to come to the in-person trunk show, I definitely encourage you to watch that podcast tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Also, if you are local or anywhere close to local, this is a really wonderful opportunity to come in and see these garments in person. Like I said, it's one thing to see them photographed on a model. It's another thing to see them with me wearing them. It is another thing altogether to touch them yourselves and to put them on your body and see how you like the way they fit, the way they hang, the way they feel, the way they move, and all of that kind of stuff. So if you are around and able, please do come and see the trunk show. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. I have all the yarn in stock for all the garments that are here, so that's super fun. And let's see what else. I'm offering you the opportunity, if you would like to make sure that you have time to be, very socially distanced, you can call and make an appointment, and I'd be happy to show you those garments privately if you would prefer. We have them all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I will be in all three of those days to help you, try them on and style them. And sometimes it's just a matter of, okay, well, here's a way to wear this. One thing that's not in the trunk show that I am going to try to have finished by then is this gilet that I've talked about so many times. This is the Teddy gilet that I have the back done, and I'm almost done with the right front. And it went so fast that I'll be able to get the left front done very quickly too. It's one of those garments where after you get to the armhole, the neckline decreases. So it just goes super fast after the armhole. So I just love that. Anyway, and it's a really fun knit. If you missed the yarn review that I did on this yarn last week, that's still available on YouTube and probably on Facebook as well. So I recommend that you have a look at that and see what the yarn feels like. And we do also still have the tasting packs, the Rowan tasting packs available for you if you are interested in that. So did anybody have any questions or comments about, let's see. Ooh, Evelyn finished her Noro coat. Oh, that's wonderful. I can't wait to see that. Soon it will be cool enough that you can wear that. It will be lovely to see. Delighted to hear that you've done that, Evelyn. Yes, you can absolutely come in on Sunday. We'd be happy to have you. Looking forward to seeing you. Bring your coat. Let's see what else we got going on. Evelyn, you don't need to call for an appointment because you've just made one, and I'll write that down. And that will be fine. I'm here from 1 to 4. So yeah, so that's what's going on. We also have Saturday morning, we have the virtual illusion knitting class with Tanis Gray. There is still time to sign up for that. It's a wonderful, wonderful class. Tanis is just the most lovely, talented designer and generous, warm teacher that you will ever experience. So if you are interested at all in learning a fun new technique and in a virtual class, that is a very wonderful opportunity. The class is $40. And as I said, it's a virtual. It'll be taught through, it's a format like Zoom. It's called GoToMeeting. It's the one that I have a professional version of, not Zoom, but it works pretty much the same way. And it's super easy to log into that. So that's available. And I think there's a link to it in today's newsletter. So yay, that's what I have going on. And Ginny and I are busy putting things out today. I think we're going to reorganize the Noro section. Oh, that's something else I wanted to tell you. I just received the beautiful Noro Miyabi yarn in stock. That is the yarn that I talked about a few weeks ago in the podcast. It is the one that is a cashmere blend. It's simply stunning. So not this week, but probably the next couple weeks, I will be looking at Noro and we'll be talking about that. And I will probably have a trunk show for you to see some of the things that are worked in that lovely yarn. So until then, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. Keep knitting and create something beautiful. Thanks so much for joining me. Let me just check and make sure that I haven't missed anything. Let's see what we got. Oh, Gwen's almost finished with the front of her stroll. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.